So I know the question you all want an answer to. Why are snakes so often seen crawling out of frogs' butts? Before we talk about that though, let's talk about all the reasons frogs just don't make any sense. First things first, frogs will eat just about anything. They have no idea how big it is or if it will fit down their throat, and they just eat it anyway. Now, although good for evolution purposes and keeping your species alive so you don't starve, that also comes with its consequences. Unlike that one girl that came face to face with her first BBC and decided to back out, the frogs can't do that. That's because sometimes the food's too large and they suffocate on it, or they can't throw up because when they do throw up, they also throw up their entire stomach. Now, alongside their extremely low standard for food, frogs also have an extremely low standard for sex. In 2020, a researcher was once walking through a forest and a toad latched onto his boot. He took the toad off, it kept latching back on, he took it off again, and it just kept repeating itself. Well, it turns out that frog had a foot fetish and it was trying to mate with the guy's boot. It turns out this isn't abnormal. Frogs have lower standards than most men do, and they also cling to things that they shouldn't all the time. More specifically, other dead frogs, other species of frogs, embryos, coconuts, mangoes, apples, geckos, slugs, fish, rulers, plastic cups, and even alligators. The idea behind this is basically fuck anything that walks so that we definitely keep our species alive. But yeah, frogs are freaks in the bedroom, but that doesn't mean they also don't have sex with their own kind. Some species of frogs have giant frog orgies where it's basically just a bunch of males trying to mate with one female. These orgies, however, are extremely dangerous for the female and extremely aggressive, almost as aggressive as your local short king who's driving around in a pickup truck. Alongside the extreme aggression, there's also a shitload of weight from all these horny little amphibians in her DMs, so sometimes the female actually suffocates and dies. But that doesn't stop the frogs. Frogs also are big fans of the 5-second rule, so he walks right up to her dead body, squeezes her sides, and when an egg pops out, he treats that like the sock that's been sitting at the side of my bed for 5 weeks. Frogs also aren't very good at eating. Well, they are, but not really. I'll explain. So a frog's tongue is actually among some of the softest solids on the entire planet, and they don't really know if it's actually a solid or a liquid. A sticky frog tongue, though, is really important in eating, and sometimes the sticky frog tongue doesn't actually work. Due to lack of vitamin A, it actually loses its stick. Now, obviously, with a non-sticky tongue, the frog will starve to death, but that doesn't always mean that's why they starve to death. That's because a frog brain is literally only designed to see and recognize moving prey as food items, which means a frog circled in dead flies will still starve. Talk about a picky food critic. Now, they might not be great at eating, but they're really good at getting eaten. A special species of frog known as the Tongara frog is known to make a mating call that attracts other frogs to mate, but also bats. It's more like a suicide cry. Aside from that, I know you want to know why snakes are constantly using live snakes as a butt plug. I'm sorry to say this, but scientists really don't know. It could be because their digestive tract isn't working the way it's supposed to, or maybe the snake just made it all the way through by luck. Who the hell knows, but it's seen pretty often. A snake in your boot's one thing, but in my butt? No. Peace.